Hey, good evening, everybody. Uh, we're waiting on Team Frozen to get into the room. I know that at least one of those guys is out there watching right now. I sent them the link to get in, and they're probably sitting there trying to figure it out right now. It takes a little bit to set up. So, hey, I see one of them, Team Frozen. There they are. I'll bring you guys in just a minute, but they're ready to rock and roll. So, as always, just a few preemptory comments tonight, or prefatory, I should say, comments tonight. I made it to the end of my season, which is tonight. This is the last PBR Monday until the new year. I may do something for the holidays like I did last year, just a little bit of fun, but definitely nothing for the next month or so because I'm going to be gone. We got the RV all loaded, and it's Key West or bust for us. This time of year, these days, laying on a beach for a couple of weeks seems like a mighty fine idea. My kids, my wife, and I are going to do exactly that. We'll be back right around the holidays, and we might do something then. But then I'm going to let it lay for a few months, and we'll pick this back up in March. As I've told everybody, the registration for 2022 is open. All the directions are out there. Just have to follow them. From here, I'm going to check all that stuff tomorrow. I'll go through tomorrow, and anybody that's registered the last week or so, if you gave me everything that I need, I'll get you on the calendar. If you don't, this time of year, I don't check that stuff every day. So it'll be, once a week or so. And when I'm gone, I may not check it for several weeks. We'll have to see how all that works out. But don't worry, as long as you gave me everything that I need, it's first come, first serve, and I'll just go through in the order that people registered. We'll get everybody hooked up. There won't be any problem with that at all. Um, let's see. I've been getting a bunch. There's been a surge in registrations for the forum lately. Once again, there's some pretty stringent screening that's done to get people in the forum just because it's been hacked several times. And I think we finally I worked it out. I do it through a cloud provider now, and they take care of the security for me. I think that's pretty good, but we still occasionally get people that the bots are mighty clever these days. They know it's a motorcycle site. Sometimes there's usernames that come in that look an awful lot like they belong to somebody that rides motorcycles, but I look them up and they have terrible reputations. They're associated with spam accounts and stuff like that. So there's some pretty stringent screening that you have to pass before you get in. And again, if you're having a hard time getting in, just go read the directions. There's a set of directions that tells you what to do. And you don't need to email me or anything else. Just do what it says in those directions. And probably your second time around, if you just follow the instructions, you'll be just fine. I try to make that stuff as automatic as possible so I don't have to fiddle with it. Same thing when it comes to registering for the Facebook page. The only reason that your application keeps getting rejected is you don't answer all the screening questions. I'm amazed at the number of people that say, I tried to register 3 times and I can't understand why I didn't get in. You didn't answer the screening questions. That's all there is to it. It's the only reason it doesn't happen. Or I look at your account and there's no motorcycle related content on your page. You'd be amazed at the number of Instagram bikini models that apply to be a member of the Facebook page. Sean Smith, how you doing? Jim Spooner, how are you? Uh, one more thing. I had told everybody that I was going to sit down and do the calendars today. So the deadline was yesterday to get it in order for a calendar. Since I didn't get to it today, I'm going to sit down and do that tomorrow. So I'm going to look at the forum tomorrow for calendar orders. So this is your last night. If you want to get one of the 2022 calendars, or if you want to submit a photo, there's directions over there on how to do both those things, how to get your name on the list to get a calendar, and then how to submit a photo if you want to submit a photo for consideration. And I'll extend that deadline till tomorrow. I'll probably sit down 10 or 11 o'clock. It's supposed to rain and snow all day tomorrow, so I can't get any work done outside. So I'm going to sit down and take care of calendars, try to catch up the forum and do that stuff. See, there's a little bit of a grace period. We'll extend that through tomorrow, so have a look at that if you're interested in a 2022 calendar. Also tomorrow, I'll post the directions on how to get me paid. And this year, everything's taken care of. So for the price you pay, I'll take care of the shipping in the continental United States and make all that as easy as I can. So that's it for business. I want to bring these guys in. And here they are. Let me see if I can make this a little. There we go. That looks a little bit better. Now let's see if we got audio. Say something.
Hey, how's it going?
That was as good as it gets. So we got
All
audio
right.
with these guys. Team Frozen, once again, like Sean, like Greengrass and High Tides last week, you guys got no love because by the time you got the Sundance, basically for me, the season was over. I was off riding trying to figure out what to do in 2022. So from the bottom of my heart, I apologize to you for that. You guys had to feel a little lonely at the end, but you made it. Last
No
team through
worries.
this year. You did a fantastic job. And by the way, need to tell everybody out there, these guys did absolutely one of the two best jobs of navigation that I saw this year. Your navigation was solid. And after the
Awesome.
conversation that we had at my house, I remember saying, I think I said, well, God, you guys seem like you know how to navigate. How about I give you one of the better mystery sections? And your eyes got about this big and said, well, don't make it too good. But I gave you the very best one, and you guys just nailed it. So I'll get to that in a few minutes. I want to get to the bottom of that. But first of all, introduce yourselves. Tell everybody a little bit about each of you, and you can also introduce your third team member who's not there.
Sure.
A little bit about how you found the tour, and then let's just get into it.
Yeah. So I'm Brandon. We're brothers. We've been riding. We grew up riding, and then stopped riding for a bit and did more like mountaineering, hiking, that sort of like exploration stuff. And then I think probably 10 years ago, picked up 10 or maybe less years ago, picked up riding again, and really found that it was fun to blend the two, right? The exploration with the riding. So Ryan, about 5 or 6 years ago, put together a north to south route in Washington, uh, like linking single track, which was awesome. We started looking around for similar things, found the Tour of Idaho as like the big daddy of long alpine riding, and then have just been I think waiting for the right time for the last few years. Everything came together this year. We were able to get some new bikes, and yeah, decided to give it a go. That I might have overstepped in terms of my intro, but Ryan, go ahead. No, I mean, I think he said it well. Josh, he's not our brother. He is kind of and he's not here tonight. He's our brother from another mother, and he has only been riding for about 4 years total in his life. So he's had a really, really steep learning curve. Put a lot of hours in, gone through about 3 bikes over the last 4 or 5 years, and we were pretty impressed he was able to crank it out after such a short tenure in dirt biking.
I I maintain that the other skills that you guys had are at least as important as your ability to ride a dirt bike.
Yeah,
Almost anybody can ride a dirt bike good enough to ride any of these trails individually. Being able to string them all together is something different. But this will resonate with you guys. It resonates with Sean and a few of the other guys that have backgrounds similar to mine. But the Tour of Idaho is a 5.9 jam crack. It's just one that goes on for
yeah,
30,000 feet. That's
yeah,
all it is. There's not a single trail that you look at and go, I can't get up that.
yeah,
It's just that when you get to it after you've been doing it for days and days and days, that's when it becomes hard. And your
yeah,
ability to function efficiently and just your ability, I think the reason why I can do it, I'm nothing special at all. The reason I can do rides like the Tour of Idaho is I'm not afraid of being in the outdoors at all. If I got to sleep under my bike, I'm fine with it. Sean Smith was like that, and I know you guys were like that. When I
yeah.
met you, I said, yeah, these guys, I know these guys well. I've never met them before, but I understand
Right.
exactly their background and where they're coming from. And I don't think it wouldn't have mattered if it had gotten down to 40 below and snow. I think you guys would have figured it out.
No, no, I don't think so.
All right, so you told us a little bit about how you found out about it. You guys have probably watched these before. Let's just go through all of your days, one
Yep.
through 10. Things that you liked, things you didn't like, things you expected, things that surprised you. Just lay it all out there, and let's just go through it day by day.
Yeah. Day one, definitely nervous starting out. I think I think of the videos we've seen of like riding those ridges on the first couple mountain ranges. Uh, I think one of the things we missed out on is we were riding most of that in the dark, and so we went into the city it looks so cool in the video. So I think that's the first thing that we missed out on that I would change. Ride that section when you can see it, because we missed out there. Then I think what else went well on day one? I think day one we were pretty pumped. So we were riding fast. We got that feedback from you to not ride so fast. We considered it.
I told you guys I was behind you for a while. I rode up. I sort of saw where you guys were, and I wanted to ride that day, so I rode Fence Line Trail. And for a while, I was about a quarter of a mile behind you. I could hear you guys up there. Man, you were on the gas. I remember saying, "Damn, these guys are really hauling ass going through there."
Yeah, we were excited. We were excited to get started. You know, it's something we've been looking forward to for a long time.
And we knew we had the rest day. So having the rest day, it's like, okay, you can thrash your body a little bit, and then you can recover on that rest day. So I think that contributed to our desire, interest, in moving fast.
And, you know, you've got the poll, right? Before, after, on 8 p.m., and you don't want to be one of the after 8 p.m. guys. So,
yeah. Like I told those guys last week, that's an intelligence test.
Yeah. So failed that piece. Yeah, I think, you know, the fence line stuff was good. I think there were some parts there where we got off. I think we were trying to, we were over indexing on getting the waypoints like exactly on versus following the most logical line. So I think we spent a little too much time doing that. But overall, we found the navigation was pretty easy to follow. The riding was fun and good.
I think
we finished under it before 8.
Yeah, the rocks, the rocky sections are some of the more technical sections. They surprised us a little bit in, I think, how technical they were right off the bat, which makes sense. It's a good filter. But we were cruising up those rocky sections, and he's like, "Ooh, this ride's gonna have some good riding in it. Hopefully, we can make it through all 10 days." So that was pretty cool.
You have something going on with your microphone there. It's almost like there's a gate on it or something. When you speak loudly, it comes through pretty good, but if you soften your voice just a little bit, all of a sudden it goes blank. So you're fine, but that tone of voice is fine. But whenever you soften it up, it cuts out. I think there's a gate on there somewhere in your software.
Okay, we will keep it loud.
All right. So you guys showed up pretty early. I remember sitting in my front yard talking to you all. Was it that night or was it the next day? I thought it was that night.
It was the next day we came back up. It was
the next day. That's right. Okay. And so let's move on to day 2, because day 2 gets into, you guys rode day 1 pretty good. I saw that you could ride. You made a real good time. Didn't look like you had any serious trouble navigating it. But on day 2, you did something fairly extraordinary. I gave you guys what is far and away was the most challenging mystery route. I only gave it to one other team this year, and the other team I gave it to also nailed it. So it's a sign of respect. If I give you the really good one, it's because I think you can do it. But you guys, I mean, it was like you didn't even slow down. It looked to me like every time you stopped, it took you about 30 seconds to figure out what to do next, and then boom, go on. That's real navigation. How did you guys learn? Obviously, we're a couple of generations apart. People that grew up in my generation grew up with compasses and maps, and we knew how to do all that stuff. But it's a little uncommon for guys your age who grew up in the GPS era to really have actual navigation dialed like that. Was it your climbing background, or are you guys surveyors in your spare time? How did you figure this out?
Yeah, we've done, growing up, we did a little bit of orienteering. Not enough that I would like hang my hat on it, but we're familiar with using a compass and how to do that. I think the mountaineering and stuff like that definitely improved our efficiency, like reading maps and things like that. But yeah, and then I think one of the things we did training for this was for this ride was set up routes that in the same way we would expect to see on the ride. So using waypoints or whatever, rather than just go out and ride for fun, we would like set up routes and actually practice the navigation piece of the riding. So I think all those things together kind of combined to help make us successful. I think the other thing is we caught on pretty quickly how your process for creating that, where you would provide enough information to make a decision, but for the next decision, it might be a different type of information. So like first assessing, okay, what is the information we have here that we have to use first? And then like, how do we actually use it? Because I could see going through and saying, okay, yeah, we're going to use the degrees this time, and then getting to an intersection and saying, oh, wait, this is now missing. Like, and so we caught on, okay, we have to rely on other pieces of information this time, which was great. We both really like puzzles, so
Yeah,
it was a fun
it
route.
was kind of like mathematics almost to the degree we had. Yeah, I wouldn't say, 3 equations, 2 unknowns, or whatever it is. I mean, I know you taught physics, so I know you're an equations guy, but it felt like every one of those felt like an equation. It gave us enough data in it that we could solve for the end point. And maybe it was a little bit different on each one of those. And then we would also stagger where we would have people run to the end while one of us was figuring out where to go next, and then radio to the radio, so that we keep our speed high.
I like the mathematics analogy a lot. For those of you who know math a little bit, this year it was ordinary differential equations. Next year it's going to be partial differential equations. The engineers and the scientists out there will appreciate that. So yeah, your process makes sense to me. Again, I cannot possibly express enough admiration for the way you guys nailed that. It looked like it didn't even slow you down. I think yours had 35 places you had to stop in it. It was a lot.
Yeah.
And it was one of the few that was over 30. And I was absolutely awed and amazed as I watched you guys roll through that. So salute once again.
Thank you.
So,
awesome.
So you're out there, and the other especially cruel thing I did to these guys, I made you ride all the way around the butte before you got to the top.
Yeah.
And at a distance of about 30 miles. So the butte never gets any closer as you're riding across the desert. Like you go down those little dips, you come up, it doesn't look like it's any closer. It's the most discouraging thing in the world. Then when you finally get there and you're going, yeah, there it is, all of a sudden you got to make a right turn.
Nope.
And you guys had to do like a 30-mile loop around the butte. What'd you think of like going up over Cedar Butte and stuff like that? That's kind of cool though, because it gives you a really cool view of the butte, a big southern butte.
Yeah, it was cool. That was cool terrain. It was cool going up over Cedar Butte. It definitely was discouraging though. Like that's the view. Like where are we going?
The sun is going down. It's going down. Oh no.
Well, so you get to the top of the butte. It was a little late in the day, but then you guys blasted into Arco, and you got there before dark, didn't you?
No. It was the sun was setting right as we crested the butte. So we were a little bit after dark.
All right, so it's probably 9:30 then, maybe when you rolled into Arco.
Yeah, it sounds.
I think it was about right. I think there was a place in Arco that was open until 11. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought it was 10:30. Maybe it was 9:30. I don't know.
That time of year, dark is about 9 o'clock. That time of year. So, but anyway, so it's after 9 o'clock. That's the important thing. So that still allows you to get a fairly decent night's worth of sleep. So, day 3, you go to Smoky Bar Store. Tell us all about that.
Yeah, day 3 started out. That's when the day 1 fast riding came back to bite us because we had his bearing go out. Front bearing. Luckily, he was packing extra bearings.
Not the first time I flew there to tell that. So we were packing extra bearings.
So we ran into a guy. This was right after Wet Creek Basin, I think, coming up over that ridge, which was awesome. Mm-hmm. That was one of the highlights of the trip, I think, coming up over that ridge.
Highlight for him. I was a little bit nervous because my was pretty loose at that point.
Yeah. We found a hunter who had a tool kit. We probably had everything, but we were looking for like a ring clip tool. Turns out they don't use ring clips on the front bearings, so we wouldn't have needed it. But we're able to get that bearing swapped. It was probably about an hour there. Then we're on our way. So I think that was fine. The weather was nice. We were still in good spirits. I think the day 3 was long. I think the low point for us on day 3 was dropping down that trail that goes to the to the end of the Big Creek Trail. And then, that's like pretty steep. We weren't sure we'd be able to get back up that if we needed to. And then the Big Creek was totally demoralizing.
It's horrible.
That time of day. Yeah.
It's awful. Yeah. Jensen, by the way, did Jensen meet you guys on the side of the road there? Jeff Jensen?
Oh, in Ketchum. Yeah.
So by the time you guys got there, you probably knew better. But, Jeff and I have like a little personal bet going. And I tell everybody, like, you guys had to do it because the 3-person teams have to do it.
Yeah.
But all the soloists of the 2-member teams, when they're here, I tell them, whatever you do not take that downhill into Big Peak Creek. And then Jeff Jensen gets them there and he goes, I ride it all the time. It's easy. Yeah, no problem. Easiest way to pick up a point there is. Who is more evil?
That's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad. It was doable going down, but I would not want to come up that.
It's pretty. I think that trail is awful. And you're right. Going down, it's committing, especially that first drop, like the first 100 yards. I think I could get back up the rest of it, but that last 100 yards, you'd have to pick your line pretty carefully, and it'd have to be dry.
Yeah.
And then once you get down to the creek, there's some weird side hilling there to go around the washouts. Then all of a sudden you get past all that, you're going, hey, I'm saved. Smoky Creek's right down here. How much harder can it be? And then you find out.
Yeah. Once you get,
you got to ride down the creek through the boulders.
Yeah, just inching along over boulder, over boulder. Are we going to break our case or whatever? But so we got through there just before dark, probably.
I think we got onto the gravel road.
Yeah, but coming from, you go down Big Creek and you take that left, and you come up Smoky Creek, and like pretty much right before you get to the gravel road, I think the trail might tee or something. We took the high route, and there was a piece of side hilling right there that was, I thought, way more exposed and narrower than the Custer Mountain side hill. I'm not sure if it's always been like that, but it was like super narrow, going around an outside corner with just tons of exposure. That was pretty cool, but it was a little heady right at the end of the day. 200 miles in after a lot of hard riding.
Yeah, you don't have to. There's 2 side hills there. There's one called the Skillerin side hill, and I don't think that's the one you're describing. Skillerin is pretty far above the creek, but it's not that difficult, I don't think. But there's a high and a low route through there, and you can take either route, and the high route has got some stuff like that on it. I think that may be what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was fun. It would be more fun probably at the beginning of the day than the end of the day, but yeah. And then we pulled into Smoky Bar. That was great. The one downside is because of the ash, there was no power or very limited power. So we didn't really have lights, and we couldn't really charge our stuff, which was a little worrying for the next day. But slept really good that night. And that was day 3.
All right, so you got to stay at Smoky Bar Store, which I think is one of the high points of the trip. Was Kaylin there, or was one of her helpers there when you guys got there?
Caitlin was not there, unfortunately. It was I can't remember
Donna? Maybe Donna?
No, Donna's the right. Yeah, I can't remember the name.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah. So you get up. You guys were up pretty early on your day 4 morning, and you're going to Chalice. Tell us about going up Paradise in the wee hours of the morning.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Day 4 is where it starts to blend together a little bit. Let's see. So we come out of Smoky Bar.
That was where we were.
Oh, day 4 is the high, is where you get really high, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you go through, what's the name of that trail? Little
Paradise Trail's where you start out. Paradise, then you go down to Mule Creek, and then you end up in what's the name of that little store up there? Then you go up Grand Prize Gulch. You go up Little Boulder, Big Boulder, Railroad Ridge, down to Sawmill Station. But I forget the name of that store. It's up there about 20 miles south of Stanley, but there's a little store you can go to there.
Yeah, the first, I remember
The first section was
is that the
was-
UTV trails?
No, it was single track. It was absolutely beautiful. We were riding in the frosty morning. I mean, of course,
Smiley Creek, that's right.
yeah, totally iced over in the morning when we woke up, which was great. Nice way to start the day.
But they started. The batteries
They started, yeah.
worked.
But then the riding was fantastic. It was all dark, though. It was the only problem. And then we got a fantastic sunrise, I think, right when we got up at the high point on that first trail, which was absolutely beautiful, although absolutely freezing at the same time. But
Yeah.
it was in my mind one of the highlights, like cruising up through that area. There was I think a really tough hill climb there, though, if I remember right. Or there's a
Getting
bunch
up to the top of Paradise is a little bit tough.
yeah, yeah. And it was nice and cold, and that's where I finally warmed up, was getting up that hill. So in a way, I appreciated the difficulty of that little hill climb there.
Yeah, and then Little Boulder, Big Boulder, that was an awesome trail as well. Going up
That's
into
nice.
that alpine up there, that was really cool. That was one of the highlights for me. Just up in those mountains, really remote feeling, beautiful, like subalpine though. And I really enjoyed that rock riding too, so that was good. And then day 4 is where you reach that like big ridge, right? What's it called? Like back
Railroad Ridge.
Railroad Ridge. Yeah, that's right. The climb up to Railroad Ridge was one of my least favorite parts of the trip. I think.
That beater
Yeah.
Jeep road.
Oh, just grinding that out was bad. When we got up there, though, we saw a group of like 20 other motorcyclists that were following parts of the Tour of Idaho. Not like a full T2, but parts of it. So it's always nice to run into those. So yeah, we're running T1. That combined with how beautiful it was pretty nice. And then let's see, at Sawmill Station we ran into Sean from Team Dental Floss, which was cool to chat with him for a bit. And Sawmill Station was great. Really liked that place.
Sean's a good guy. Both Seans saw a lot of trail for us this year.
Okay.
Sean Smith, of course, made it. The Sean you met did not, but I think he'll be back in the future. He's a super good dude.
Yeah. He looked pretty equipped and like he'd be back.
Yeah, he's another one of these kind of guys that's got like really good outdoor credentials.
Yeah.
And I think they ran into some bad luck this year. They'll be okay. They'll come back.
Yeah. And then let's see, out of there, I don't really recall too much after that. I remember it was another fairly late night getting into Chalice.
Well, you guys did Custer. Surely you remember that.
Oh yeah. Custer, of course. Custer was awesome. Yeah, Custer was great. That was the one thing I really wanted to do coming into this trip. And yeah, I thought it was great. I thought the climb up there over the rocks and everything was really, really fun. The side hilling I didn't think was too bad. Worst case, you kind of get off your bike and push it, which Ryan did. And but it was awesome. It was beautiful up there, and I thought the riding was great. Again, it'd be nicer without saddlebags and kind of on a shorter day, but that was definitely a highlight for me.
So then you guys came down off there, and you had to do what I actually think is the worst trail of the day, because the 3-member teams have to go up 11 Mile Creek and up over that divide. How was that this year?
I don't know if I remember that.
You come out 5 Mile Creek, you hit the Custer Motorway, you go up north on the Custer Motorway, and it's the first trail you take off the Custer Motorway. You ride about 3 or 4 miles up this creek. It's really nice. Then you turn left, and you climb for about a mile straight up. There's a bunch of switchbacks and stuff up there, but man, is it steep.
I might have blocked that out by now. I don't remember that part. I do remember on Custer, Josh took a bit of an exposed fall and got a little psyched out.
Yeah, psyched out.
So I do remember the rest of the day until the end was a little higher stress than some other parts of the day. I'm sure the steep hill climb contributed to it, but I don't remember the riding in particular.
Well, you guys got into Chalice, and considering what you'd done, you didn't get into Chalice at a bad time.
Yeah, yeah. Chalice was great. Chalice was the Village Inn or the Chalice Inn. Chalice Inn. Yeah, and they put us in a room that could have slept like 12 people or something. So that was nice. There's 2 showers, so
We got a bunch of grilled cheese sandwiches the next day.
yeah. Food that's one of the things that people really the advice I would give. Don't ride the 3-person route, but the other piece of advice is you really have to pay attention to your food because you're leaving places early, you're getting in late. That becomes a big part of the strategy. Like, how are you getting enough food? That's not just like gas station food. So that's one of the things we were trying to get into places early so we could actually get a dinner instead of a bag of chips or something like that. And so Chalice was nice because we got a full meal.
That's something that people, of course, you guys, again, because of your background, you'd be familiar with this. In climbing, you do these long grinds and stuff, and you simply have to pay attention to proper hydration and proper nutrition. You can't do. I remember when I was on Lotus Flower Tower once, the weather was really bad, and I led every pitch, and I think I climbed for 26 straight hours, and I was cranking so hard, I forgot to eat. And all of a sudden, I got to the top of this pitch, and I'm going, shit, I don't think there were any 512 pitches on this. It's just because all of a sudden you hit a wall. You just ran out of energy. People do that in the tour all the time, and they don't recognize what happened. They just think, man, all of a sudden the riding's harder than I can do. If you're not paying attention to proper nutrition, boom, it's going to hit you right over the head at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you get into Chalice, you get a good meal and everything. Then you get up and you start out on one of my favorite days. What was day 5 last year? Tell us about that.
Day 5. So that was coming out of Chalice going to Salmon. Oh yeah,
go up to the lookout.
Yeah, you're going through like what lookout?
One lookout. What was the lookout called?
Twin Peaks. First thing in the morning. Usually you get up there before the sun comes up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we did, and we got down before the sun came up as well.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That one was out there, but another one where it would have been nice to see during the day, but was pretty. And then
I think day 5 was a great day.
Day 5
it was fantastic trails for us. I feel like we blasted through it because we were making sure to get back to get our tires swapped out. Because Brandon, his tire was gone on like day 2.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was doing. We were running the same tire, same bike, but he just blasted through his tire.
I don't know why. It must have been defective or something.
They're all a little bit different. I just get the biggest kick in the world when guys try to argue with me about tires. And I had a guy a couple of years ago say, I took the gauge and I measured the hardness on this knockoff tire, and it's just exactly the same as the tire you recommend, and yada, yada, yada. QC is everything in tires, right? And people like Golden Tire and Dunlop, their QC is pretty good. They're a little different from batch to batch. You can still get a bad tire, but you're less likely to get a bad tire from Michelin or Dunlop or Golden Tire, or somebody that, has reasonable quality control. When you order off the Orient Express, you don't know what you're getting. I think you guys are running Golden Tire, right?
We started with Maxxis Desert IT.
Still really good tires. So it was just bad luck.
Yeah. And then we, on day 5, we skipped the challenge section, which is too bad. I would have liked to ride that one. But in order to get to Les Schwab on time, we ended up having plenty of time. We probably could have ridden the challenge section. Yeah. That's another one where I don't know what the 2-person route was like, but it felt like the 3-person route added a degree of challenge on day 5 compared to some of the other riding on that day.
The only thing the 3-person route does, everybody used to do the 3-person route, but I made it a little bit easier for one bouncy uphill. That uphill is pretty nasty. It goes for about 3 miles, and you're tired of riding over rocks by the time you get to the end of it.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of big steps up over tree roots, too, at a couple of spots.
Yeah, it was fun riding. But we were cognizant of time at that time. But I will say, getting to Les Schwab and going in there and having Josh just say, "Oh yeah, we'll do your tubeless. We'll put this line back in. You know, we got the tires for you, no problem." And just being able to sit there and have him do everything was one of the highlights of the tour for me. We were totally expecting like, okay, get the tire irons out, So just it was like totally full service, and it was such a relief to be able to just lay on the sidewalk as he was changing 6 tires for us.
That's John. It's so awesome to be able to deal with guys like that. He
Yeah.
shows it. You show up and he's just like, "Why don't you guys go eat a sandwich? I got this."
Yeah.
Oh, and let me go get you the sandwich too. That's what kind of a guy he is.
Right. Yeah.
He didn't get us a sandwich, but that sounds really good. I was pretty hungry at that point.
Yeah. Then we stayed at the Stagecoach, which was great. I left my GoPro there, and they ended up keeping it and sending it back to me later. So that was really nice. But slept well, and were able to do laundry on day 5. Laundry is another thing that I would encourage people to be aware of. It was nice to be able to do laundry a couple times throughout the trip.
I just throw my stuff away and buy new. I keep my outerwear on, but like underwear and stuff like that, I just throw it in the garbage can and go buy a new pair.
Yeah, if you have the funds for that could work.
If you got the funds to get your ass all the way here and buy a motorcycle, you can afford a pair of underwear. What's wrong with you?
Oh man, I was on thin ice with the amount of money I'd spent on this trip. So, trying to
I see a whole DJ monologue coming on this, but that's another story. All right, so then you start on day 6, which is another one of my favorite days. This year, unfortunately, we weren't able to do some of my favorite parts of day 6, but it's still pretty good. I think all that stuff up on the CDT is pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, day 6 was phenomenal. We left early, and then we had a kind of a 3-person route that went way up on a lot of logging roads and a bit of trail to a mountain as like our initial starting point.
Mm-hmm.
That went fine, though. It was only later when I was preparing my tracks that I saw we blew past a small section of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was our one navigation error of the trip, at least that I could see, which was pretty unfortunate because we would have had plenty of time and everything if we had seen that. But going up, that was fine, nothing too notable. But then we went to North Fork and we were able to drop our saddlebags, and then the rest of the day was just super fun.
Yeah, it was fantastic riding, but 2 things happened. Josh pulled a muscle in his back, and he maybe did that on Ditch Creek or right before we started on Ditch Creek.
No, it was on what's the one going up to the ski resort? It's a divide trail, right?
Yeah.
That second section of the divide trail is some of the nicest trail I've ever been on. I think it's right before that.
Yeah. So he pulled a muscle on his back.
Yeah, there's what's that called? Twin Creek Ridge Trail or something like that. Or yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So he pulled a muscle in his back, and then on Ditch Creek, we wanted to ride Ditch Creek, so we were helping him in the tough sections because his back was all messed up. And then I was riding his bike on a switchback and ended up falling off of the switchback onto my own handlebar of my bike that I laid down below his bike, and that took me out. Like, dislocated a rib. Yeah, and so that was the start of a lot of pain for me through the rest of the trip. So Brandon had a great time.
It was great. I got a good video of him wheezing and moaning after that I can share. But I had a great time. I don't know what these guys.
He had a great time, but it transformed my tour into a world of pain after that day, for sure.
But the riding was really good. Yeah. Riding the Divide Trail, all of that.
Even Ditch Creek was fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, Ditch Creek was
Ditch Creek's a beautiful trail. It's just bumpy as hell.
Yeah.
And you guys rode up it because you did it challenge section style, right?
Yeah.
Riding up Ditch Creek they call it Bitch Creek locally, and they ain't wrong.
Yeah, there are a couple good switchbacks in there, but overall a pretty fun trail.
Yeah. So, and you guys, it looked like you got back to North Fork at a reasonable hour.
Yep.
I remember you did Ditch Creek and stuff, and I knew that there had been some issues because we were talking through PLBs and stuff. But you still managed to get back there, and it struck me that you got in at a reasonable hour. Is that correct?
Yep. We got in well before dark. We were able to go up and get some pizza. About 5 miles up.
Yeah. Nice place. All right, so then you start out on the part that nobody likes, day 7.
Yep.
You know, the trails in the beginning are kind of cool.
Yep.
But then there's that big, long transfer section into Elk City. I think, did you guys walk out to the lookout?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I thought so. Yeah, I think I told you that you might need an extra point, and that was an easy way to get one. You know, it takes some time, but it's actually a really pleasant walk out there, and it's a nice place.
Yeah, it was great. It was nice to exercise the legs again.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first part of day 7, finishing up that divide trail was also is a little bumpy, but that was good riding too. And then just that, even though it was a transfer section, riding through that corridor, the Magruder corridor, was very cool. So that was worthwhile. I think it was beautiful in there.
So you guys went into Elk City and got your gas, came back out, rode to Lowell. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. We started off. We started from North Fork with 1 gallon extra fuel each. I was carrying all of it because I was the only one not injured. Then
I'd have faked an injury, man. I'd have said you guys are carrying your own gas. My left nut hurts or something.
Riding with 3 gallons of gas is awful.
It's not nearly as bad as riding with a dislocated rib. So I don't want to hear him complain about it.
Just let it be known. Anybody that ever rides with me, if you get hurt, I'm going to fake an injury. Yeah, man, I'm hurt too. You're still carrying your own shit.
Yeah. Well, I can handle it. I thought I could handle it, and here we are. So it all worked out. I thought some of the trails coming up to Elk City weren't bad. Like a lot of those UTV trails were pretty fun.
They're nice.
Got to open it up a bit, and that was fun. Elk City only has regular gas, but that's all right. And then we came out and got to Lowell. I don't think there's anything too notable after Elk City.
Yeah.
One thing is it was supposed to be raining on us, but somehow we managed to avoid all of the rain clouds that were.
Yeah. It was a miracle. It's like Moses or something, right? The Red Sea parting, because it was supposed to pound you guys, and it didn't do it.
Yeah, we got 1 or 2 drops all day. It was pretty amazing.
And then the ride out to Lowell along the river was some of the most beautiful. The sun was coming down. Maybe some raindrops in the river. It was fantastic. It was so beautiful along the river. It was a place where I said I need to come back here sometime and just hang out because it's so pretty.
There's actually a single track trail that parallels that road up to the rider's right as you're riding out. And I put that trail on one year, but it's kind of there are some terrible single track trails, and that's one of them. It goes through an area that they've logged, so you just ride through tree stumps for miles, and it kind of sucks. And I put it back down the road for exactly the reason you just described. You're at the end of a day, if you're on time, the sun's just going down, and the sunsets in that valley are beautiful.
Yeah.
And there's no reason to have somebody ride the world's worst single track when you can ride down that road and just kind of chill out.
Yeah. Yep.
So, did you stay at the Three Rivers or at the Wilderness Inn?
We stayed at the Three Rivers. We got in right before they were closing.
They were already closed.
They were already closed, but we were able to knock on the door and get our key, thankfully. And get some food. I think we had microwave mac and cheese that day.
Didn't get much food. Didn't have much in the store at that point. Spent the night there. In an A-frame number 12, if I remember right.
So, sorry, it's past my bedtime now. The time change has messed me up. I go to bed about 8 o'clock every night, so I'm an hour past my bedtime. But so the next day you guys start out on what was everybody's big mystery day this year because the route kept changing. So you guys rode up. You got to that Waldy Lookout fairly early. I think they weren't letting anybody up there this year because of COVID. You guys
Yeah.
had to ride the Peking Creek Trail, which kind of goes through a little mini jungle down there.
Yep.
It's a little hard to find your way in the dark, but you got the Waldy, and it looked to me like you didn't have very much trouble with that.
Yep.
Then you went out past Middle Butte. What did you think of that Fish Creek Butte Trail
Oh,
that's got all that
beautiful.
side hilling on it?
Awesome. Beautiful.
That's a pretty cool trail, isn't it?
Smooth, nice, little bit of side hill exposure. That's like a fantastic trail.
I think that is actually, though, the most dangerous trail in the entire tour, because there are places like Custer that look bad but aren't. You know, as you pointed out, if you fall in the most exposed part of Custer, it looks like you're going to take a big ride, but you're not actually going that far.
Yeah.
You fall going across those granite slabs in Fish Creek,
Yeah.
there's no reason to do it there. But those slabs, if you notice, they get
roll
steeper.
off.
It rolls off. Roll a rock down that sometime and watch what happens. And it's that decomposed granite. When it's dry, it's okay. But if you ever ride that when it's a little bit wet, ball
Yeah.
bearings, baby.
Yep.
So you get down to the bottom. Unfortunately, you can't do Sherman Creek this year, which I'm sure is what you guys were planning on. So you had to ride Anthill.
Yeah. I thought, let's see, we got really wet kind of getting up towards Anthill. Or was that getting up to the
Fish Creek Trail,
Yeah, Fish Creek Trail. It
which
wasn't
is
bad.
another nasty trail.
Yeah, it was a little nasty, and it had rained obviously the day before, and so we were like, my boots were like full to the brim of water by that point. But then getting to Anthill, like the rain, the traction was so good after the rain. I thought that riding was great. I had a good time there.
Yeah, it was good for Brandon. He was in the front. He had, nice new soil, and he was able to rip up there and leave the two injured guys behind. I was so mad at Brandon at the top of that hill because he's cruising up, hitting those roots or whatever, and digging out some hole. But then Josh has his suspension super soft because he's shorter than us, so his bike's lower. And then Josh is having traction issues getting up over those things. And so I'm in the back with my ribs sticking out of my chest, trying to help Josh up over these things. And Brandon's nowhere to be seen. He's gone. He is gone. So yeah, I was very upset at Brandon at the top of that ride. But I thought it was a fantastic. It was cool. The switchbacks were awesome. They were deep cut switchbacks. The traction was fantastic. I was just in a lot of pain, but it was cool.
Yeah, it's Anthill would be a great trail if you fixed about 3 switchbacks. That's all it's going to take.
Yeah,
a little grooved out down there at the bottom, and it's really like right down at the bottom too. It's the first few.
Yep.
The last time I was there that were the worst. Once you get up a little higher, it's a cool trail.
Yeah.
So after that, you rode up, and you guys had to go out to Wietta's Guard Station. What'd you think about coming up on one of the nicest federal buildings in the world in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, it was pretty bizarre. Yeah, we just not totally sure what it was doing there, but it was a nice place to eat lunch.
We had a nice sandwich lunch there. It was beautiful.
Yeah, but
then the 20 trail is pretty nice that you take next.
Oh,
that
yeah.
goes along the creek.
Yeah, that was an awesome trail. That was super nice.
Yeah, a little side hill, but other than that, it's all real nice.
Yep.
So, as I recall, you got to 250 at a pretty reasonable hour, but then, like everybody else, I made you guys do a little hunting and pecking back in there on Windy Ridge, Windy Bill, and you were the last team through, so you knew what I was going to ask you to do, and you knew it wasn't going to work, but you went in and did it anyway, like real good sports. And I think you rode up. You guys got all the way up top, did you? But weren't you the guys that got up and were able to connect with the top of the Junction Mountain Trail, but you couldn't get any farther?
Yeah, is that right?
Yeah, we talked to we got up to the top, but we didn't go whatever it is, Windy Bill up north below the ridge. We tried to get up on the ridge and then take the trail that showed up on our maps on the top of the ridge.
Yeah, that trail's no good.
Yeah, the trail doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
The rangers, the trail rangers, they're like, there's no trail up here. You have to go down to the lower trail, but it's impassable. They're like, we've spent 4 hours on it yesterday, hundreds of trees. There's still 3.2 miles to go of trail that has, there's no way you could get through it. So we
Yeah.
ended up chatting with those guys for, I don't know, an hour and a half. And told them all about the tour, and they were both like super excited about it, revved up, saying, "Oh, we're gonna do that next year." There were like a couple of young guys. So
Yeah,
that was a
Trail
lot of fun.
Rangers.
Yeah.
So you guys went out, rode around. You went up to Scurvy, got your deal. Then you rode into Superior. Is that correct?
Yep.
And what time did you get into? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, the ride from Scurvy to Superior was also very long and very cold
Yes.
after dark. But
What time did you roll in?
we got to Scurvy a little after dark, so probably
I think it was
Probably
about
9.
11 when we got in.
yeah. So it was pretty late coming to Superior. Yeah, probably 11 or so.
Okay.
Go ahead.
But it's a nice place to stay. You know, you can
Yep.
get what you need in Superior. 24 hours a day. They got a big store there that's open, I think, 24/7, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we were able to get some pizza. Got some hot chocolate, which was really nice.
All right. So now you're on day 9, and that's where Jim and Andrew hooked everybody up this year with some what everybody says is phenomenal trail. Tell us about your day 9.
Yeah, so we started out, I think we paralleled the freeway for a while, and then took the little bonus section, which was great.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
Ran into a couple of bow hunters up there.
They were super nice. And then, the trails up there were fantastic. They weren't as scenic or as like magnificent as a lot of the other days, but the riding was just great. Just great traction, great single track. Definitely a place you could just go and ride for a couple days just for the fun of riding. And the route made a lot of sense. I think we did the challenge section on that day as well, which was great. They're just the type of trails that I would want to go ride for fun, pretty much all day once you got there. So it was a really, really good time.
And you got in to see Donna relatively early, did you not?
Yep. Got in to see Donna early afternoon. Did another load of laundry, which was nice. Had a really nice meal at that on the corner by the Ryan Hotel there.
Really
Mhm.
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, we had never been to Wallace before, but it's a great little town.
It's a nice place to spend your penultimate night too. You know, you can kind of get out, have a few beers, eat a nice dinner. It's got it's got a nice vibe to it. I like Wallace, except this time of year. If you go there, well, you guys are from a dark place too, but if you go to Wallace this time of year, like kids are getting on the school bus at 3:30 in the afternoon, and it's pitch freaking dark. I can't handle that.
Yeah.
All right, so you get to see Donna, you get to spend the night. You know, it's kind of
Donna's
cool.
great.
You walk in, she's got your team name up and
Oh,
all
yeah.
that.
Awesome. Yeah, Donna was fantastic. Ryan Inn was great. Yeah.
So now you're on day 10, last day. Nobody ever screws up day 10. So you guys know you kind of got it made. How'd it go? Tell me about your day 10, the whole thing.
Yeah. So on day 9, we forgot to mention Josh, his rear tire popped.
Yeah.
And then on day 10, his front tire popped, or tube popped. So that was the one hang up on day 10. We were able to get them both changed. It was not a big deal. But day 10 was up through Independence Creek.
Which was fun.
Yeah, we did the challenge section, which was fantastic.
A lot of water.
A lot of water crossings, but no one laid it down in the creek unless, did I one time?
I think you may have.
Yeah, in the shallow part maybe.
Yeah. I think we were having fun.
Yeah, we were just having fun there, riding too fast again, which is why Josh's tire popped. So yeah, just super fun riding through Independence Creek. That's another place, you know, the riding is just the type of riding I would like to do for fun. And the challenge section there was particularly good, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And ran into some more guys riding there. A lot of places we didn't run into anybody, but day 10 we ran into a few different groups riding, which was fun. And then let's see, we went up to Hoodoo Lookout after that. So after those trails, and it was pretty much just like a victory lap up the roads, if I remember right.
A lot of riding there where it's like you do the trails and then you're like, oh okay, we're done. And your blisters on your butt are reminding you, no, you're not done yet. You have to sit on the seat for another
You got a ways to go.
4 hours. So yeah, that was brutal. The blisters were all revolting. So,
Yeah. But good riding. Super. Hoodoo was very pretty, and then obviously Sundance is just gorgeous. Looking over the lake there is really, really nice.
The tour didn't used to end at Sundance. That started about 5 or 6 years ago. You used to go another 70 miles north of Sundance, and it ended in the most miserable place you could imagine. It was just awful. It reeks of bear shit, and it's just a little hole down in the woods. And so Sundance is a much better ending than it used to be, and it's a lot quicker than going up the old way. So how'd you feel when you rolled up to Sundance? You made it.
Oh, it was great. I mean, certainly relief. Like even till the last little bit, like, okay, when's the next tire going to go? Or, when's the bike gonna give out? But relief and just, I think happiness.
I think we were all ready to not be on our bike the next day. We were all ready to be done at that point.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that's ever felt any different than that when you get there. Well, congratulations. It's awesome what you guys did. Again, I feel horrible that I was not able to, I like to have fun with the teams that go along. And we corresponded back and forth, but I think even some of the time I wasn't even at home. I was off riding myself.
Yeah.
Once September gets around, I got about 6 weeks to get what I need to get done. And that's what happened. So, but you guys made it. Congratulations. I got a little swag, especially for you guys too. We'll talk about how to get it to you when all this is over. I felt really bad that you guys got no love when you ended up. We didn't get to do an interview or anything else. So we're making it up now, but just to make it up to you, I've got some swag for all three of you guys.
Cool.
We'll talk about it a little bit later. I'll send you a PM tomorrow.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Anything else you want to tell the world while you're here before we wrap?
Do it. You're not getting any younger, you gotta pull the trigger, do it, do the 2-person round. Yeah, it's a great adventure. So Martin, really, really appreciate the work you put in, and it's an epic adventure. So thanks a lot.
The pleasure's all mine, especially when I get to meet guys like you. More and more I'm starting to meet guys that kind of have my background, and that makes it a lot more fun. The people that come at it from racing, I'm not part of that scene very much. And there's some things about it I just don't understand. But you guys, I understand. Sean, I understand. And some other guys, the Stafford brothers, people like that, that have started to come through. Ralph Jones, a guy that did it really early on. This reminds me, I can't, do hard alpine climbs anymore. I just can't. But I can still ride a motorcycle. And I feel the same way about the Tour of Idaho as I used to feel about doing really hard alpine routes in the middle of nowhere. You're kind of on your own. There's some planning, there's some self-sufficiency, and those are all the kind of ingredients that I tried to weave into this. And you guys exemplified all that stuff. And again, I'm in awe of how well you managed to find your way over 2,000 miles. Very few nav errors. You guys nailed it. You rode it really well. Congratulations.
Thanks.
All right. Gosh, I don't see any questions here for you guys. So I guess we're done. The season's over. I can't imagine better guests to have for the last PBR Monday. Thanks again, you guys, and I'll be in touch tomorrow, okay?
Awesome.
All right. Cheers.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
All right. So all right, here we go. So once again, you wasted a perfectly good hour, but that's the bad news. The good news is you don't have to worry about doing it again until next spring. Again, we may have a little bit of a holiday special this year because that was a lot of fun the last time around. If I can get a couple of interesting guests that I can drag in here, we might have some fun, drink a little bit of moonshine, have a good time. I feel really, really bad about those last few teams. Sean Smith, BAD, these guys frozen, Greengrass and High Tides. I just felt like they didn't get the love as everybody else did. Jeff Jensen was PMing me, hey, how come nobody's paying attention to any of these guys? It's like, dude, I can't do it. I'm out doing my thing. So I hope that these PBR Mondays kind of make that up. I respect everybody that does it. It's just I'm only one guy and I can only be in one place at one time. But anyway, I'm glad we got to have Frozen on again. And I really mean it from the bottom of my heart. I can't imagine a better team to wrap this up with. I enjoyed watching those guys. I was pretty confident that they were going to nail it the whole way, and so it goes. So finally, we're done with the 2021 season. Now it's on to 2022. And I've talked about it. I'm not going to spend any more time talking about it tonight because I've spent a few PBR Mondays talking about this and a couple of videos that I've put out describing the changes for 2022. It's going to be a great year next year. We're going to have a super good time with the tour. I've already got all these guys PMing me and saying, hey, we'll go out and solve the new stuff if you'll just tell us where it is. You know what? I think we got the new stuff solved. It's going to be total mystery route for the teams that are there next year. I'm not going to do a thing to give it away. You want to find out where it is, ride a tour of Idaho next year, and you can learn about it too. It's going to be a great year to follow. Some days there will be teams going dark because we're not going to upload PLB data for the stuff that we kind of want to keep under wraps. And again, not everybody's going to ride the same route next year. There's going to be more mystery route. There's going to be some days where I send some teams one way, other teams the other way. And there's one day where you're not even know where you're going to spend the night until that morning. So it's going to be more adventure next year. If you have the navigation chops that Frozen did, that Sean Smith did, that Jim Spooner did this year, that's going to really help you a lot. And also, if you have the ability to just be comfortable in the woods. A lot of teams did a great job with that this year, but specifically those three teams, all of those guys not only could ride their motorcycles good enough, but they were really, really good in the outdoors. And I just can't think of very many things that, T-Rex attack might have stopped them or slowed them down. But other than that, they were just very good at being in the outdoors. And we're continuing the trend of making just a general good set of outdoor skills part and parcel of all this. But anyway, more for that when I see you all in the spring. Thanks again for hanging out with me for the last few months. It's been a blast. These guitars don't play themselves, though, so I got an entire winter's worth of work I have to do in the studio, and I'm going to get to it right away. Thanks again, everybody, and I'll be seeing you.